Geneva Watch Days has dominated the headlines, and while these six-figure unobtainable watches are very fun to ogle, I bet there are some more obtainable watches that have flown under the radar that you have missed. Now we're gonna cover some of the watches on both ends of the spectrum here on this channel, so sit back and relax and give your thumbs a break from scrolling through that video feed while I take 5 stories from the watch industry, giving them roughly 1 minute each and putting my own weird little twist on things because this is time well spent. Tag Heuer adds a little Art Deco space age design language to their entry-level Carrera collection with a unique take on the moon phase complication. The trio of new watches utilizes the familiar 39mm Carrera case with a new flat link beads of rice bracelet or leather strap option. With a mixture of finishing techniques and a varying level of depth, the dial brings dimensionality and complexity as your eye drifts down the shrinking concentric circles, eventually falling on the rotating disc, holding the compass-like hands pointing out the moon phases rather than a traditional rotating moon disc at its center. The black and white motif is the only standard production model, while the two-tone steel and rose gold version and the even better sci-fi gray tone version accented with pops of loomed teal are both limited. Powered by the automatic caliber 7 with 56 hours of power reserve hidden underneath an engraved case back, the Astronomer feels like a much-needed spice in a relatively simple Carrera collection. It's a bit out of left field, it blends the 1920s with the 2020s, and overall is priced relatively competitive at $4,800 for the standard version. But personally, I would save the $200 and grab the gray and green version, knowing I would always be a little bit annoyed not being able to read the Astronomer text as light fills the polishing. Modular furniture company USM has teamed up with luxury watch company Zenith to bring us a quartet of colorful Zenith Defy chronograph USM editions that come with an actual piece of USM furniture. While that is pretty awesome for those of us who have a closet full of watch boxes, why? The collection pays tribute to the 1960s when USM created their modular system in 1965, and just 4 years later when Zenith debuted their revolutionary El Primero chronograph movement in 1969. A pivotal decade for both companies celebrated with colors emblematic of USM's design in a chronograph model embodying the pure Zenith ethos. These new chronographs beautifully blend the two companies together in a retro-inspired modern package that just bleeds cool. Vintage aesthetics and timeless angles fall off every facet of the 13-sided 37mm case that still manages to hit under 14mm thick despite housing the high-frequency El Primero movement and achieving 100 meters of water resistance. Now, I have at times criticized Zenith for some of their modern offerings, but they seem to be on a real hot streak lately. The worst part about this release is really that they are just limited to 60 pieces each. But the latter bracelet works incredibly well with this case. The clasp has 5 points of micro-adjust instead of the ludicrous 40 that we've seen before. The dials are outlandish, fun, and incredibly charming. At $11,800, they are a bit expensive, but absolutely a home run. The watchmaker's watchmaker JLC dropped 4 stunning new models with 3 Master Grand Traditions and 1 Master Ultra Thin. 1 in pink gold and 2 in platinum, the Master Grand Tradition caliber 985 has been reinterpreted and packed full of more parts than anyone can count. With a case comprised of over 80 components and a movement of 431 parts, where do you start with this mechanical marvel and true beauty? Powered by the caliber 985 developed originally back in 2013, it brings together the Perpetual calendar and moon phase complication with a flying tourbillon strapped with a cylindrical hairspring. The tourbillon alone pulls together 83 individual components and just adds to the incredible visual display. Price? Yep, available upon request. Now the standalone piece, that is the Master Ultra Thin Tourbillon Enamel. With an on-the-nose name giving you the highlights, this watch pairs an anthracite gray Grand Fou enamel dial with a hand guilloche sunray pattern inside of an 18-karat pink gold case. The dial alone holds 180 individual sunrays that each require 6 passes of the hand-operated rose engine lathe, totaling a staggering 1,080 lines altogether without a single mistake. The subdial then holds a hand guilloche azurage circular pattern that contrasts the straight rays, which are then covered all in enamel glass, set ablaze and brought to life with liquid depth. Powered by the caliber 978 with an intricate 77 component tourbillon, the watch never gives up trying to pull your eyes into every fine detail, and craftsmanship blossoms on every single surface. Price? Yeah, you're gonna have to call on this one too. Oris went absolutely wild with 2 new releases this week, but to be fair, they had help with one of them. The first one is the Oris Big Crown Caliber 113 that I'm going to dub the Fuzzy Watermelon. Resurrecting the Caliber 113 from a few years ago, Oris has opted to change things up a little bit from the dressier display of the Atelier version before, and tool it up a bit with the Big Crown model with a few everyday tweaks. This model has a bit more of a sterile approach with mostly brushed surfaces while lacking the typical coin edge bezel that we've seen before. It also moves the date aperture while tweaking the sub-registers, bringing a much more balanced design to the dial and overall language of this new model. Then though, Oris throws it all out of whack with this eye-catching color scheme that certainly won't go unnoticed in a boardroom. The second watch comes from the mind of good old Georgie, as Bamford Watch Department has interjected a little bit of out-of-this-world fun into the ProPilot altimeter mission control. It's huge, it's weird, crafted from carbon fiber, and made to show you air pressure on the dial display. This watch watch is a wild collaboration from one of the core enthusiast favorite brands who has been taking some swings lately, and one of the most IDGF watch tinkerers known for blacking out everything. Dive darling Doxa brings back the 750T with a slimmer profile for the modern audience. Originally meant to bridge the gap between the 600 and 1500T, the 750T is the Doxa placed in the collection for the professional diver looking for everyday wearing capabilities. The new version though takes the old reference and force feeds it some swim fast, knocking it down from roughly 14mm thick to under 12mm thick, while still being able to hit 750 meters down below. At 45mm by 47mm for the case, it seems like a big boy out of the box, but takes advantage of that Doxa cushion case magic, wearing way better than you might expect, especially because of that new thickness pairing well with either the rubber or beads of rice bracelet. It is a pretty compelling offer, especially now that Doxa lets you choose your favorite flavor of the rainbow right from the get-go. But as is true every week, so many things happen that I just don't have time to cover here. Dennison went both dual time and dual dial, with the new ALD dual time versions of their traditional TV-shaped case quartz-driven dress watch. As someone who is just warming up to Dennison and doesn't really care for stone dials, well, now there's a watch with two of them in there. Furlan Marri brought gem setting into a more entry-level price point with the Disco Onyx Diamonds, a 38mm watch that feels plucked straight out of the past with a minimalistic, well-balanced design, bringing elegance onto the dial paired with a brilliant braided steel bracelet that just makes me tingle. Gerald Genta continues its revitalization, bringing out its second modern caliber in the minute repeater, a fantastically simple appearing yet mechanically marvelous, peculiar little piece that will look fantastic on turtleneck sporting models for years to come. Now keep an eye on this brand, as this is a fantastic follow-up to the golden nipple covered Gentissimo Orson 36 that I really just need to see in person. Moser introduced the new Pioneer Flying Hours, a take on the Wandering Hours complication in the simpler Pioneer case, then taking it up as many notches as Moser possibly can in their traditional, sportier offering. Hamilton also gave us a new khaki Aviation Pilot Pioneer mechanical chronograph, this time in blue. That's pretty much the whole story there, but I love this watch and I think more people should know about it, especially considering that it has a few less zeros than some of the other watches we've been talking about on this episode. Singer took a shot and gave us their interpretation of a traditional three-hand everyday watch, attempting to dial back their out-of-the-box design language while still delivering a fun, avant-garde Singer style that some of us just really love. Frederique Constant brought out 3 new versions of the classic Perpetual calendar, manufactured models that offer an incredibly good value for an in-house manufactured Perpetual calendar movement in a very well-balanced design. FC deserves a lot more credit for the movement manufacturing that they're doing, and I'm gonna find a way to do it. And finally, Ulysse Nardin got a little extra freaky this week with the Freak X Crystallium, a pretty crazy dial created through a technique that grows a unique crystal-like structure on a ruthenium-based dial surface through vapor disposition. Pretty wild stuff. And I will of course have links to everything that I just talked about in the description down below, so if you want a deeper dive on any of those topics, please head down there and click on those. Tune in next week as I have quite a few things that I'm going to be talking about, including some industry events and one particular watch release that I've had some hands-on time with that I can't quite talk to you about yet, but it is coming out next week and I'm very, very excited to share with all of you. If you want any of that in real time, please be sure to follow me on Instagram as I post a lot of the stuff as it is happening, and I would really love to connect with all of you out there. But anyway, I know that your time is very valuable and I really appreciate you spending some of it with me. I will be back next week with another collection of stories, but until then, peace.